100,000 years ago, on a dark night somewhere in Africa, a small group of humans sat pressed together around a fire. Beyond the circle of light, the world was completely black, and in that blackness were things with better eyes than theirs, and sharper teeth, and a great deal of patience. To stay near the fire was to live. To wander into the dark was very often to die. Those people were afraid of specific, real, immediate things, and their fear was the most useful thing they owned. You are descended from the ones who are afraid of the right things, and by the end of this you'll understand something strange about yourself. Almost every fear those people carried is still inside you, fully intact, firing in a world where the things they feared are gone. One of those fears is running in your body right now. We'll get to it. So what were ancient humans actually afraid of? The list starts where you'd expect, and then it gets stranger. Start with the most obvious one: predators. For most of human history, we were not at the top of the food chain. We were prey. Our ancestors lived alongside cave lions, hyenas the size of large dogs, leopards that hunted primates specifically, and snakes large enough to kill a grown adult. Compared to almost everything that wanted to eat us, we were slow and soft and weak, with no claws, no fangs, and terrible night vision. So evolution gave us fear instead, a deep, fast, automatic response to the shapes and sounds of the things that hunted us. And here's the first sign that this isn't ancient history. You are still born with these fears. Studies have shown that human infants with no experience of the world at all lock onto images of snakes and spiders faster than almost anything else. Nobody is afraid of electrical outlets or cars in that instant, gut-level way. Even though those are the things that actually hurt people now. Your brain came preloaded with the threats of the Stone Age, and it never got the update. Predators were only the beginning, and the next fear shaped human life more than any other: the dark. To you, darkness is mildly uncomfortable at worst. To an ancient human, it was the single most dangerous condition in existence. When the sun went down, your greatest weapon, your eyesight, became nearly useless, while the animals hunting you could see perfectly well. The dark was when predators came, when rival groups attacked, when you were at your most helpless, and every ancient human knew it in their bones. This is why the fear of the dark is nearly universal in children, and why it appears in every culture on Earth. It isn't a childish weakness you grow out of. It is one of the oldest rational fears our species ever developed. And the only reason it feels irrational to you is that you happen to live in the first era in human history where the dark is genuinely safe. For 300,000 years, the child who feared the dark and stayed near the fire lived, and the child who wandered off into the night often didn't. You come from the frightened ones. Now the fears stop being about animals and start being about something closer to home. Because the deadliest threat to an ancient human was not a lion, it was another human. For a long time, anthropologists assumed prehistoric life was relatively peaceful. The evidence has steadily destroyed that idea. Studies of ancient remains reveal startling rates of violent death, with some prehistoric sites suggesting a large share of people died at the hands of other people. Rival groups raided for food, for territory, for revenge. A stranger appearing at the edge of your land was not a chance to make a friend so much as a real possibility that you were about to be killed. This left a permanent mark on the human mind. We are instinctively wary of outsiders, instantly alert to whether someone belongs to our group, and capable of fearing people we've never met simply because they're unfamiliar. That instinct does enormous damage in the modern world, but it was once the thing that kept you alive. The ancient human who trusted every stranger tended not to pass on their genes, while the cautious, group-loyal one did. And that points to a fear almost nobody thinks of as a fear at all, though it may be the most powerful one humans have ever felt: the fear of being cast out. Here's something hard to grasp from inside the modern world. For an ancient human, being expelled from your group was a death sentence. Alone, you couldn't hunt large game, couldn't keep watch while you slept, couldn't survive an injury or an illness with no one to help. The group was your only protection against everything else on this list. So to be exiled was to be handed over to the predators and the dark and the rival tribes all at once. This is why evolution made the fear of rejection one of the strongest forces in the human mind. It is why being embarrassed produces genuine physical pain, why social rejection activates the same brain regions as a bodily injury, and why the fear of speaking in front of a crowd ranks, in survey after survey, above the fear of death itself. To your ancient brain, standing exposed in front of the group while it judges you isn't awkward. It registers as a life-threatening emergency. Because for almost all of human history, that's exactly what it was. Now we reach the fear that shows how different the ancient mind really was. Because our ancestors weren't only afraid of things that could physically hurt them, they were afraid of the dead. Across nearly every culture ever studied, there is a deep fear of corpses, of the spirits of the dead returning. Ancient burial practices around the world show elaborate efforts to keep the dead in the ground. Bodies were bound, weighted with stones, buried face down, or carried far from the living, and some cultures performed rituals built entirely around making sure the dead stayed away. There's a hard practical reason underneath this. A dead body genuinely is dangerous because it carries disease, and the instinct to avoid corpses would have protected ancient humans from infection long before anyone understood what infection was. But the fear ran far past avoiding sickness. It became a fear of the dead as presences, as things that might come back in the night with purposes of their own. That fear is the root of the ghost stories told around every fire in every culture for thousands of years, and it still moves in you, in the involuntary chill you feel in a graveyard or a silent, empty house. Which brings us finally to the part I promised at the start. Every fear we've walked through, the predators, the dark, the strangers, the exile, the dead, has one thing in common. You still carry all of them right now, every single one. You flinch at snakes and spiders you will almost certainly never meet and feel nothing toward the outlets and traffic that genuinely could kill you. You feel uneasy in a dark room that holds nothing at all. A flicker of wariness crosses you when a stranger gets too close, even when your rational mind knows there's no threat. You are frightened of being judged by people whose opinions can't actually endanger you. And a cold unease moves through you near the dead, even if you're completely certain there's nothing there. None of it matches the world you live in. All of it matches the world your ancestors lived in. Your fear system was assembled over hundreds of thousands of years by an environment of predators, darkness, violence, exile, and death. And then you were born into a heated apartment with a locked door and a full refrigerator, carrying a nervous system built for a savanna at night. This is what a lot of anxiety actually is: an ancient, finely tuned survival system, still running at full power in a world it was never designed for. The part of you that wakes at 3 a.m. certain that something is wrong is not malfunctioning. It is doing precisely what it was built to do, scanning the dark for the predator, the way it kept your ancestors alive for 10,000 generations. The only thing that has changed is that the predator is gone, and no one told the part of you that's still on watch. So the next time your heart slams at a sound in the night, or your face goes hot with embarrassment, or a dark hallway makes the back of your neck prickle, you might recognize what you're actually feeling. You're feeling the inherited fear of every ancestor who lived long enough to have you. Each of those fears was a danger that killed the humans who didn't feel it. You are here, alive, because every one of your ancestors was afraid of exactly the right things. Your fears were never flaws. They're an inheritance, a museum of every danger your bloodline ever survived, still standing guard inside you, long after the dangers walked away.